Hi, good evening, everybody. My name's Ian Sutherland. I graduated from SMC in 2002, and I'll be your moderator this evening. Just a quick overview of the format. We're going to give each of the three panelists a few moments to introduce themselves, talk about their time in St. Mike's and kind of how their path has taken them to the career that they're at now. And then we really want to open this up to you guys to ask any questions that are on your mind. We expect this to last 45 minutes or so. So you guys will be out in plenty of time to go pregame before going downtown. With that, I'd like to introduce Matt Powers and let him take it away.
Great, thanks, Ian. Matt Powers. I'm also a graduate of the class of 2002. I have a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, but I currently am the Director of Sales Operations and Business Intelligence for John Hancock Investment Management. We are the wholesale mutual funds distribution arm of our company. I manage a team of 11 people, and we support 59 wholesalers spread out across the country who sell our mutual funds to financial advisors, and then they work directly with end clients to invest their dollars. We sit in our sales organization, but we really have numerous stakeholders across the business, from our national accounts team to our marketing team, our analytics group, and then, of course, very closely with our finance team. One of our core functions is data stewardship and control of all of our sales, asset, product information that flows into the company. So we are in charge of landing and storing that data and then pushing it out to the appropriate finance folks on both the commission and profit and reporting side. So it's a fun and interesting role. I've been doing it for about 4 years, and I've been with John Hancock for 14 years. So started about here in 2007. Prior to coming here and between graduating, I worked in various sales roles. Thought for sure I was going to be a sales guy. I sold everything from windows to insurance to soap. Spent some time in Bristol, Vermont in a barn selling bicycle vacations. But all of those experiences sort of, when it came time to knock on the door here at John Hancock, having a cross section of different sales experiences. And even while at St. Michael's, I did some part-time work at the holidays at Gardner's Supply and Vermont Teddy Bear, taking telephone orders. So, parlaying that experience into a role here at John Hancock has really been, what my career has been for me, and the different operational and management type roles that I've had. I guess the thing I most take away from St. Mike's in that is, all the different areas that I interact with now. It actually reminds me a bit of just a liberal arts education, and having humanities and religion and philosophy and math and economics and business and all these different things that you have to juggle. It's not one core piece of study, but it's broad, and I feel like I leverage that every day in problem solving and in the relationships that I have to create and the different types of people that I interact with. So certainly there's a heavy data and finance slant to the information that we use from a commission and reporting standpoint, but having a broad knowledge base has been something I think that's been instrumental to my growth and where I am here. So happy to join you guys this evening. And who's next, Ian?
Why don't we kick it over to Rich, please? And thank you, Matt.
Matt, I got to find out if I know somebody at John Hancock. I made a note to connect with you later. Hey, everybody, Rich Anisser, class of 89 from St. Mike's, philosophy major. So quick overview. I'm a husband of a 91 St. Michael's grad. I'm the father of 3. I'm the son of a 58 St. Michael's grad. I'm a brother of an 88 St. Michael's grad, and I'm the brother-in-law to a 90 St. Michael's grad. So as you can see, I wear purple a lot. Big fan of the school, liberal arts college. It's fantastic. I also have the privilege of serving on the board of the board chair of the Nature Conservancy of Pennsylvania and Delaware. helping fight climate change and conserving lands all throughout Pennsylvania and Delaware. My daytime job is I'm the Chief Strategy Officer of InvestNet, which is a fintech, wealth tech, B2B2C player. John Hancock funds sit on our platform. We have about 5.2 trillion in assets under management or under administration on our platform. Think of us as the technology, the data, the solutions that kind of power the wealth management space. As a strategy office, we define the roadmap for the future. We run our corporate development, M&A, partnerships, the way we structure investments in different companies that we invest in and we partner with, in the data financial planning, data aggregation, portfolio management software. So I think anything of wealth management, and then now in embedded finance and embedded investing, we've got our hands into. So it's a really cool, fun, and interesting job. Interesting journey. So I'm a philosophy major. My mother was horrified and said, "What are you going to do when you get out of college?" And I said, "I don't know. There's not a lot of money to be made sitting on a mountainside philosophizing." So I got a job in an advertising agency in New York. I bounced around a bunch of those. And then I moved over to client side in the marketing front. I worked at got lucky and worked hard at Fidelity Investments, Merrill Lynch, UBS, Lincoln Financial, now at InvestNet. I was it's an interesting journey from a philosophy major to a marketing, pro, and now corporate strategy. And I've always had a degree of that liberal arts curiosity that's been a big driver of what I've done. I'll share, I traveled after graduation. So Matt, you had some cool things you did. I worked on a construction site with a fellow St. Mike friend in Singapore, traveled throughout Southeast Asia. Don't tell your parents I said this, but travel, you're going to work for a long, long period of time, get out, go do some fun stuff. I've a 21-year-old and a 18-year-old and a 14-year-old, and they all know that they need to go out and travel before they start working for real. Then I always kind of think about this, how the philosophy background and major that I had at St. Mike's was really powerful. That ask why, Socratic method, that's how you get from being somewhere in advertising to corporate strategy and a fintech in a really hot space. Always been curious. I suggest to everybody, push yourself, open up your aperture, travel, think of things that get you outside of your comfort zone, explore new opportunities, act. Throughout my career, I've always tried to find these little opportunities that were a little bit off to the side from the core of any business I've been in. And it helped me learn more and get recognized for taking some risks and some chances. And then finally, I'd tell you two full times I've started over. I quit, made Merrill Lynch, massive financial services firm, in the middle of the financial crisis. After we had been acquired, I wanted some time off. I guess my 14-year-old was like 2 at the time, mortgage, 3 kids, looked a little bit risky, but I wanted to bet on myself, and I started my own small company, and that moved over to UBS. And then I took some time after Lincoln, and that's when I really reinvented myself or reimagined myself into this corporate strategy role at this really cool company, InvestNet. So bet on yourselves, put the effort in, do the work. That's my view. It worked well enough for me, and be curious. So that's kind of the arc of my story or the journey.
Nice, Rich. You jammed a lot in there in a couple minutes. I think it's interesting how both of you guys really didn't even know what you wanted to do, even after college, right? I mean, I think so many people go into college and aren't even really sure what they want to do, but I was the same way. I really didn't know what I wanted to do even after college, and that's okay. You'll figure it out. And having all those various experiences, especially coming from a liberal arts school, I think helps you to figure that out and diversify yourself. And so travel, that's key too. I agree. I couldn't agree anymore that that's the time to travel, is before you get serious about a career, and if you're planning to have a family, that sort of thing, because you won't get that time back. Thank you. All right, Samantha, you're up.
Right. So my name is Samantha Kane-Sliney. I graduated from St. Mike's with an accounting degree in 2004. I currently live in Portsmouth, New Hampshire with my husband, Brian, whom I met at St. Mike's, and our 2 children. I actually knew that I wanted to be an accountant when I started St. Mike's as a freshman. I had been introduced to accounting through a few high school courses and really enjoyed it. During my time at St. Mike's, I had several internships. I worked as a tax accountant in Professor Voigt's tax practice during busy season. I was a professor's aide in the accounting department. And then the most significant internship I had was an audit internship at KPMG in Boston or before my senior year. So after completing the internship program at KPMG, I actually went back to school senior year, having a full-time position for when I graduated. So that was great. It helped, it was very helpful. It eliminated a lot of the stress that most students really feel that spring semester of senior year. But on the other hand, as we were just discussing, it didn't allow for any travel time or fun or kind of adventurous, exploring. I kind of got right to it. So after graduating, I started with KPMG. At the time, a lot of the big 4 firms offered an education program where you could work and complete your master's degree, because a lot of states at that time were requiring 150 credit hours for the CPA license. So while I was working, I completed my master's at Boston College and finished my graduate degree, and then went right into studying for the CPA exam. I took each part separately, and after meeting my public experience requirement and education requirement, I became a licensed CPA in Massachusetts. In about 2006, I left public accounting. I worked for a private startup firm in an accounting role, as well as an S&P 500 manufacturing company, both very different, but both very invaluable experiences. At that point, my husband's job required us to move to San Diego. So we spent 5 years out in California, and I feel like that's kind of where I had a little bit of a reinvention, still in the accounting field, but I really found kind of my career in the nonprofit private prep school space. I took an accounting role at a private school out in San Diego. And then when we relocated back to New England in 2014, I took a senior accountant position at Phillips Exeter. That's a boarding school in Exeter, New Hampshire. And I've been there for about 4 years. I was promoted to accounting manager in 2019. And so that's the role that I have today. I truly enjoy what I do. I like being in the school atmosphere. I handle the budgets, the tax compliance. I facilitate the audit and just the day-to-day accounting. So I'm excited to be here tonight. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to answering questions.
All right, great. So Carla, do you have the ability, I think you're the one that opens up the lines for the folks to ask questions if they have them? Am I right in assuming that? All right.
Maybe.
Okay, hold on.
Yep, so Ian, it looks like the line is open. We don't have any questions from the audience quite yet. But I know one question, at least on my mind, is, for our panelists, what advice do you have for undergrads that are looking for a career in the finance and accounting space?
Rich, why don't you field that one?
Run the other direction, find something else to do. No, I'm kidding. I've actually really, again, I started in advertising and then got into the financial services world, and it's been fantastic for me. There's a corollary to this. I saw someone had submitted a question at some point: how do you make a difference in the lives of others? And then you combine that with financial services. I mean, there's a lot. It's a for-profit world, 100%. I've spent a lot of time on Wall Street, but as we think about at Investet, we talk about making financial wellness a reality for everyone, and that's what we're trying to do. So it's a really cool industry to be in, and if you're in the right spots. When I think about what you would do to, kind of get into financial services, I'm a circuitous route, advertising. Then I ended up in Fidelity, kind of in the marketing role, and now I handle really complex M&A transactions. So I have to think through how I would suggest it. I think the key is, as you look for the companies that you find have purpose in the space that align with your values, then what are the ways that how do you take what aligns with your values and really try to lever into that what you've done at your time at St. Mike's, what you've done at your time outside of St. Mike's, and how do you align those things to tell a story? And I think it's probably, Trevor, just a little bit bigger than that. The one thing I think about for young folks coming out of school a year or two out is, what's the narrative that you can put around your story? Because that's what we all want to hear. And I share this. I have a 21-year-old, he's a junior, has struggled in school at times and all that kind of stuff, pandemic and all that. I said, John, your narrative is, post those struggles, you've really accelerated and turned your grades around. There's a narrative to be had around that. There's a narrative around what you care about as your values and things that you've done that may not align straight to financial services. You just kind of have to find the parallel and the corollary to start to tell that story. So that'd be one way I would really think about it. And I share with everybody, like, it's not necessarily what you did and, each of the specific actions you took. And maybe, Sam, it's a little different as an accountant and you knew what you wanted to do. I've always, through my career, had to find the parallels. When you think about, as I went from leaving Lincoln Financial as a chief marketing officer to coming to a fintech, it was, this is how I think. These are the things I've learned. These are the values of financial wellness and reality for everyone. These are other things I'm doing in my life. That became part of my narrative to kind of reinvent, go to a new place.
Did any of you go through an internship program?
If you consider a construction site in Singapore an internship, then yes, but no.
How about as it relates to finance? Sam?
Yeah, so I'll speak to that a little bit, Ian.
Sure.
So the program that I was part of, this is a long time ago. I was a summer intern, like I said, for KPMG. A lot of the big four companies did that. So I actually, at the time, so I actually reached out to the audit firm that I work with now, just to make sure that it still worked that way. And he, the senior manager, confirmed that for me. Yes, they still do the summer intern programs. In a lot of cases, they have some type of hybrid so that if students do want to go back and get a graduate degree to meet that education requirement, they can work at the same time. So all of that is still happening in the accounting world. I actually went on to KPMG's website and happened to see that the location in Colchester is already posting summer intern positions for next summer. So I would encourage, and that's what I was actually going to say. I think, doing internships, getting lots of different experience. I prepare tax returns, like I said, but also on the audit side, and just, there's no bad experience. Everything that I did ended up like being a building block to where I am now. So I just advise to try different things. And really the work experience really sets you apart from other students that come out of school without any experience.
Yeah, it's a good way to figure out what you don't like too, right?
It's funny you say that, Ian. I'll just jump in there. So every semester I have a co-op student on staff for me. It's generally someone from Northeastern that's involved in their co-op program. But I've had students from other local universities to Boston. A couple of semesters ago, I had a student from Endicott on my staff. And then every summer, we have a summer internship program that's just a 6 to 8 week, 10-week program. And I have 2 students from that every year. So at any given point during a year, I have between 1 and 3 students that work for me. And I often will say that to them, sales operations might not be what you want to do, but you're going to learn something. And if you don't like it, the speech I'll give to the kids that are here for the summer is, it's only 10 weeks. You can gut it out and learn something. And the ones I give to, my co-ops is it's only 6 months. At least you're going to learn what you don't want to do. And, you can parlay some of this experience into something else. Or, if your involvement here was with a specific team or person, that you can then anchor on that when you go start your career and look away from operational roles and maybe more something on a sales desk somewhere or in the marketing team or any one of the other areas that we interact with. So I think that's also a valued lesson there. But to what Sam just said, our internships and things are posted on, the John Hancock website, and you've got to go in and apply for it and do that stuff and get your name into the program. So, get involved as many of those as you can. I never had an internship, and I wish that I had. I think I find that the kids that come through and work for me are fun, outgoing. I learn just as much from them, I think, as they learn from, being on the team for 6 months or 10 weeks or whatever it might be.
I'll also put a plug in for, if you're interested, check out the InvestNet Institute on campus. It's where we reach out. We have a program there for internships, and we want to funnel more and more folks in through the financial services, wealth management space. And there's a question in the chat. Do you have any advice to land an internship? I would say from my observations and not having one when I was younger and now being a little bit older in the workforce, but we have interns coming through all the time. I think importantly, it's a numbers game. You said it, Matt, and check out the thing in Colchester for KPMG. Matt, you mentioned, be on the job boards. Folks we have coming through our system, it's a numbers game. Try to be as engaged and involved in as many of those, get in front of as many as you possibly can. And again, have that narrative that just makes you a touch unique. And sometimes, Sam, it's exactly what you said. I've got a work experience. I've got a thing that fits exactly. If you were in my seat, right, I went and worked in Singapore. I levered that into a really cool story for people who would look at the, in advertising space. Like, what'd you do? Well, I wanted to go see the world and I wanted to broaden my aperture. I wanted to open it up. So I went and worked on a construction site in Singapore. I traveled through it. That became my narrative because I was a philosophy major and, I didn't have a straight line. So there's always that opportunity, and you're going to find cool people who are interested. Straight lines are great. And then if you don't have one, how do you pull it through? It's that story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just say also, sorry, I was just going to say being proactive and really just, when I applied for the internship at KPMG, they weren't coming to campus recruiting for anything. I just went on their website, applied, said I was from Vermont. I said, I'm moving to Boston for the summer, and just kind of put myself out there. And you have to do that because nobody will come to you. So just really kind of being proactive and exploring on your own, talking to people, asking what they do, how they got to, where they are now, just asking a lot of questions. I think those are all really good ways to kind of get your foot in the door and get started.
Absolutely. And leverage your network by all means. I mean, the St. Mike's alumni is here, the panelists here are obviously willing to help, but check out SMC Connect, reach out to your career development folks, and we are so happy to help. And that's the key to getting many jobs. I mean, when you've got jobs where there's multiple applicants, that can be a differentiator. If you know someone that can say, hey, listen, you should be taking a look at this person, it can separate you from the pack when you've got someone recommending you, or it can say, hey, listen, they're coming from St. Mike's, which is a school that attracts and fosters good people. So we know this person is going to be hardworking and ethical, that type of thing. Please, we're here. We want to help, as alumni, because we love St. Mike's and we want to help the folks that are there and looking to get out into the job market. That's why we do these things, right? Matt, what course do you wish you had taken, or skill, I guess, wish you had developed at St. Mike's as you went into the real world?
Yeah, no, I saw Ingrid post that question. It kind of made me laugh. Where I ended up, I took a class, but I wish I paid more attention in Berger Benson's Management Information Systems class. you get exposed to a little bit of Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint, and other things, but I've found that throughout every step of this journey, understanding how to use Excel, Access, PowerPoint, new programs like Visio and other, storyboarding type things have, lacking those skills has made it challenging for us. One of the things that my team is heavily involved in right now is data visualization and dashboarding using Tableau and ClickSense, which are two tools out there. And, I'm finding that, people that come in an internship for me that have exposure to that, they get more out of their internship. And then when I'm looking to hire folks, having those skills and being able to talk about how you've used the program has been, those are the people that I tend to hire. Because it's not something, we can always train to it, but if you can hit the ground with some of that technical experience in programs like that we use in reporting and business intelligence, that makes you valuable to the team. And so, I think more classes in that space, possibly getting more advanced into that, would have led me down, a bit easier track than what I got to. But I think from where I sit now, MIS systems platforms, Microsoft Power BI, Tableau, ClickSense, anything that you can get into with data visualization and dashboarding, I think that's going to be something that's beneficial.
How about you, Rich? Now's your time. Clear the
Yeah,
closet. What should you have done?
So what I should have done differently. Oh, you could go on and on. Actually, I never looked back. I've been blessed and things have worked out okay. Matt, is to play off that a little bit, and something I've think about a lot is we're seeing more folks come through, young adults coming through with more of that technical kind of experience and background. Those things are growing out. At a liberal arts school, you also have the opportunity to engage in writing. When I was living in Manhattan as a 24, 25-year-old, I took a creative writing course. And it wasn't that I didn't have it at St. Mike's, but it was something I started to get proficient in the world of marketing and advertising. But the most powerful thing you could do is be able to put pen to paper concisely and communicate. I fortunately got good at it, and that's probably a good part of my narrative. But I see more folks now, Matt, we have the Tableau, we have some of those expertise, but we're having a tough time getting people to articulate the concept,
Sure.
the idea, and put it down on a piece of paper. So I think, and that's where things like, taking improv classes or creative writing courses, it was not really, I was living in Manhattan. I was 25. I wanted to be out every single night, but I was out every single night. And then I squeezed a creative writing class inside of that. But I think now we see that as a real problem. Technical skills are increasing, but then the ability to put a really concise concept in front of, all the way up to a C-suite and a board is really critical.
Sam, did you have anything you wanted to add?
So Excel was something that came to my mind when I saw Ingrid's question. And I did know the basics of Excel. And it sounds like there's probably a lot more focus on that now than there used to be. But I am in Excel all day, every day. Like that's what we use. It's just what we do. So knowing some of the advanced features is just critical for my work. And the other thing I was going to say is I took a I don't know if it was called public speaking, but it was basically a public speaking class. And I hated it. And it was just like, I didn't want to go. It was awful. I dreaded it, but I should take one now. But that's just something that's so important regardless of your career path. I'm an accountant. I don't have to sell anybody anything. I don't have to talk to large groups of people. I don't have to present. But there are times where I'm communicating, especially in like the Zoom world, where, just some of those skills are really important and, can always use some fine tuning. And so I think that's a really important skill that graduates need today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's transferable to any career, really. So how do you guys make a difference in the lives of others? That is a question we got beforehand. I thought was pretty interesting. Kind of stops and makes you think.
Yeah,
About even making a
I'll
difference.
start with this one just because I do work for a nonprofit. So I feel like inherently there is this opportunity to contribute to society in a positive way. Although I'm not teaching and molding the students at Phillips Exeter, I'm helping run the operations that support that effort. One of our missions includes a Latin phrase, non sibi, which is not for self. And so we focus a lot on how can we make this experience equitable and inclusive for all students, regardless of their backgrounds. And with that it becomes a financial decision in a lot of cases. So I am involved in that indirectly, which feels good and feels, like a positive contribution. But I was thinking about, well, if you don't work for a nonprofit, how do you feel good about what you're doing and that you're giving back? And I think it's really just because I have for-profit, companies that they do have those core values. They do care about their communities and they care about their employees and focus a lot on core values. So I think finding an organization that has those core values and values that you connect with will allow you to give back and feel good, even if it's, not necessarily a nonprofit.
Yeah. Rich, how about yourself?
Yeah, that was really good, Samantha. So it's tougher to follow, but I looked at it like, as I was looking at my next opportunity, this mission of financial wellness is a reality for everyone. I worked on Wall Street. I'll be blatantly honest. There were people I did not like. There were people who were grossly overpaid. There was parts of the investment banking model that just didn't resonate with me. So I moved to insurance to a degree, and now I'm in what I think is absolutely the right spot. So I think it's kind of this threefold ways I think about making a difference in people's lives, aligning to missions to a company that, Sam just really outlined well, and this is how I thought about it for me. Then I look at how can I make a difference in the people around me? And I really wanted to find an opportunity where at this stage of my career, it was about mentoring and helping and kind of being a point guard to a C-suite team. I don't need to be the star basketball player. I like to be the point guard, distribute the ball kind of view, so I could help make the people around me better. And then you fill up your life with a whole bunch of other things. I don't put all my eggs into, I'm a capitalist, or I make money, I want to be aligned to good values. And then I spend a lot of time in this nature conservancy. It's the world's largest conservancy organization in the world, Pennsylvania, big chapter. We're 1% of the world's emissions. We'd be 27th if we were a country. So I put a lot of time and energy into that. And I coached every girls basketball and boys basketball and things like that. So, I started by saying I'm a husband, father, and all that good St. Mike stuff. But, I make a life in the difference of, people in a whole bunch of ways outside of, inclusive of work and outside of it as well.
Thanks. And Matt, how are you making a difference?
So I when I read the question, that immediately came to mind. So I thought about it two ways. Like, how do we make a difference as, a corporate citizen or as a company? And, while I work in asset management now, for the first 10 years here, I worked in our insurance operations group, and I spent a 2-year period managing our death claims area, where I had the opportunity to interact with, family members of someone who's passed away, and they're filing a claim, and you're making good on a promise to pay benefits to someone who paid into this for, 20, 30, 40, 50 years of their life and or less, where something tragic may have happened, and you're, helping to, make life easier or make life better for someone on the other end of that. And on the insurance side of the business, it's what you do, right? You're in the business of paying claims, and you need to be good at it, and you need to be empathetic, and, people need to feel like you care about them. And I think that was an eye-opening experience for me, and something that I was, proud that I had the opportunity to run that department for a few years. Today on the asset management side, where we wholesale, so I don't really work with end customers anymore. But here's where I think I would pivot to where I feel like, Manulife John Hancock has come as a company, and Rich and Sam have both talked about values and what you bring to that. And, I feel like over the last few years, we've really reset our corporate values to a point where my employees, myself, my team, we're sort of buying into this mission. Over the last few years, we've created a number of employee resource groups at the company. And 2 years ago, I was approached to sit on the leadership team for our Global Women's Alliance as an ally and assist with programming to, further opportunities for women at John Hancock. And that's been eye-opening and something I've really valued participating in. We have other groups, the Association of Multicultural Professionals, valuing the inclusion of Black experiences. And, we have content, and the company makes it a point that participating in these groups and being an ally and learning is just as important as the work you produce through your Excel spreadsheets. These are the types of citizens that we want to have and want to be, and the types of engaged employees we want. So, joining and being involved in those things, I think, and encouraging your employees to do that, and giving them the time and making them feel like you can take the time to join these different groups and learn about things that don't just contribute to what might be your day-to-day operational work. I think those are the types of places you need to want to go and work. And I think we've all kind of hit on that we find value in that. And, some of that probably comes from, being a St. Mike's graduate and what you've learned there, and, kind of what comes from that. So I think that's how I'd answer that question, Ian.
Yeah, nicely done. So Sam, what would you say the biggest challenge you faced in transitioning from college life to professional life, and how did you overcome that hurdle?
So, there are a lot of challenges coming out of college, where for most of us, it's a lot of fun. I mean, a lot of work, but a lot of fun. Things are kind of taken care of for you, and you really don't have a lot of stress in most cases. So, coming into a professional world where you do have responsibilities, and not only financial, but just, work responsibilities, and making difficult decisions, about your career and what's the next best step, and do I take this job or that job, and what does that mean? And, finding a balance between work and your life outside of work. I feel like those are some challenges that I experienced, and I don't really have an answer as to how best to handle those challenges, other than reach out to, network, ask questions, find a mentor that can kind of guide you through some of those situations. They've been there. Another St. Mike's grad is a great resource, and just continue to be true to yourself, and it all kind of comes together. And then you get to this point and you look back and you're like, wow, like I remember what that's like, and I like where I am now, and it all worked out. So yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any right answer on how to deal with some of those things, but it's just part of life.
Rich, how about yourself?
Yeah, thinking back to it, what was interesting is, if you have a good work ethic, you can kind of pull your way through anything. School, high school structured one way, then you get to college, and that's got a whole different lack of structure, so to speak. And then you get to work, and you've got tasks and assignments and things that have to get done, but no one's telling you necessarily there's a meeting or something like that, but it might not be because there's a class next Tuesday, or that there's going to be a grade associated with it, right? Kind of your reward system is, did I do that well or did I not? I at least got it done. It doesn't come with your boss doesn't necessarily grade it, grades you over 6 months or a year period of time. So there was that kind of structure was a little bit different, a little more challenging, but the work ethic kind of drives you through. Just keep, you want to do the work. I would say, as I think about it all the way through to this part of my career, it's something I enjoy. That change is constant. So you're going to evolve from, some people appropriately, not struggle with change. Change is not necessarily something that you love. I've gone through assessments which says you like change too much, you'll change for change's sake. So sometimes I can throw my team off. So, but so I give that as a context. But it is constantly change throughout all your life. And, we've hit a bunch of milestones, and Sam, you have some kids at home. I've got them, and now they're all, they were this when they were little, and they're this problem when they're older. So the change is just always constant. And so kind of being very adaptive in a mindset, I think is a really important part as you transition to the professional life. Adaptation and flexibility is really critical.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt, what about you? What's a challenge you ran into, and then how did you overcome it transitioning from college to the real world?
Yeah, it really just kind of smacks you in the face, doesn't it? I mean, Sam had a job coming out. Rich and I were kind of like, what are we going to do? Like, I sold stuff, and then for a while, 10 months into my first job, I had an opportunity to drive cross country with another one of our St. Mike's classmates who was kind of giving up on their gig in Colorado. And I was like, I'm in. Yes. Cause I didn't want the responsibility anymore. I didn't want to, I just didn't feel like I was ready for work, and I wanted to just continue doing this. And I think, at some point you kind of figure it out, and it just becomes, what I have to work, and I have to, sort of create this new discipline where, when you're in school, you've kind of got your class schedule, and you're disciplined for how you go to class and when you study and how you study. And sometimes you do it at midnight. Sometimes you do it at 4 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes you do it at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then you kind of, at least when I started my career, it was kind of like a 8 to 5, 9 to 5 thing, and very rigid and structured. And it's a whole new adjustment to how to do that. Or if you're newly out and you're in sales, your sales manager is like, all right, go sell. And you're like, I'm on my own today. Do I even have to work? Like, what am I doing? I got to go drive around and cold call places and turn in notes at the end of the day about the people I talk to. And it takes a whole different kind of discipline that you think you have, but it's very easy to get sidetracked on that. So I think, being true to yourself and understanding that it's, you've got to develop this new discipline and this new routine for yourself to start moving forward, and, find what that looks like for you. And, I think maybe over the last 18 months, we've all kind of gone through that. Now I see you're in an office, Ian, it looks like, but I walked out of my office March 12th last year, and I haven't left my home office here since then. I haven't walked back into the building. So, finding that new discipline and that new change it's like going through it again. So, for me, I think it's just, finding what that discipline is, and grounding yourself in that, and, how you move forward and take that to be successful in whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. And put yourself, allow yourself to experience new opportunities. You never know what's going to come. You got in that car, drive cross country. You don't know who you're going to meet and where that could take you in life. Join a club or volunteer for a nonprofit. You never know. You just involve yourself in something that you think you might be passionate in, and the rest kind of takes care of itself. You're going to meet others that are passionate about the same sort of thing, and you're going to form your network, and you're just going to watch it over the years build and build. And you never know when you might call on someone, but they're going to be happy to help when that time comes. So I think we have time for one more question. We got one in the chat box here. What does a typical day look like? So Rich, I'll start with you.
All right. So every day's atypical. I mean, for me, is if I think about walking down a day, all right, I might have a one-on-one meeting with one of my direct reports. He runs partnerships, she runs partnerships, some critical partner. Where are we on this? Where are we in that? Kind of a status update. What do you need help with? What could I break down? A barrier. Then probably, maybe a group meeting on a strategic view of this company or that company that we could have a partnership with to grow. What are we doing with John Hancock funds? They're no good. They're the best. We want more of them on our platform. That type of thing. Where to strike that partnership. I was teasing. We love Hancock. Probably check in with the CEO. We've been looking at maybe divesting this, asset that we've owned for a while. Here's what we're thinking, what it looks like in the price. We got a call from a private equity fund about that. Might do something like that. And then, say another one-on-one, probably a check-in with a board member every now and then on, hey, board meetings coming up. We actually had ours today. So that was 5 hours out of my day today. I'm glad I have energy left. I can get energy from this. That waned me, a 5-hour Zoom with the board. But So kind of those types of things is where, where we are. And then, we're in a strategic planning process. So, have we built all the templates and formats in Excel and all that kind of stuff to hand out to the business units, and we'll collaborate and bring those things in, kind of have a discussion around that type of stuff. It's mostly, it's funny, most about business is identifying problems and opportunities, solving problems and opportunities. It boils down to that. That's what I do all day.
Mhm. Sam.
So every day is different. But a lot of what I do, especially now in the role that I'm in now, is dealing with issues. It could be anything. It could be an issue with the bank. It could be an issue with a family that wants an exception on their tuition payment plan. I mean, just like those types of decisions where someone, I have 2 direct reports right now. One oversees tuition billing and accounts receivable. And so there are constant issues and exceptions and decisions to be made around, is that within our policy or not? And kind of how to handle these situations that come across my desk are just, more than you can even imagine, but just unique. And I never know like what the day will bring. A lot of email, tons and tons of email, which, especially now that most people are virtual, things that used to be just walk down the hall and ask a question is an email now. So just managing my inbox takes a lot of time out of my day. Depending on the time of year, we're either projecting or budgeting or both. So it's a constant cycle of, this is what our projections are. We've got to do next year's budget. We're always budgeting for the next year when we're just into the current year. And so I'm always kind of looking at working in 3 different years. It feels like I'm wrapping up the audit in 1 year. We're in the current year, we're looking at actuals, and then we're budgeting for the following year. So it is cyclical in that nature. We also have trustee or board meetings. We have 3 a year. So a lot of time goes into preparing materials for them, figuring out, it depends on the time of year, but sometimes it's telling them how the audit went. Sometimes it's presenting what we think should be the budget and having them approve that. So just a lot of financial reporting, data analysis. And then when you're a manager, there's a lot of personnel and people issues that you're dealing with. So just making sure that people are happy, that if their questions are being answered. We've had a lot of turnover, so training new people. It really is a variety every day. But I like that. It keeps it interesting, and I'm constantly learning new things.
And Sam isn't, I'm sure Matt, same, and it's amazing how what you think should be black and white and easy, it's all on the grays. It's like you're always dealing with an issue, and we do this all the time and it should be straightforward. Well, there's always an exception and there's always a gray around it. So I guess that gets back to flexibility and adaptability, but some things seem like they should be easier than they are.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's at the same time, that's what keeps a job interesting, right? Is when you face new challenges, you have to pivot and all of a sudden address a certain concern or a problem or an issue. Otherwise, if something's too repetitive, then of course you feel pretty stagnant and like you've reached kind of the pinnacle, and it's like, okay, what am I? I've still got my years of my career ahead of me, and I don't really see any challenges coming down the pike. I guess that's when you start looking for a new job. How about you, Matt? What's a typical day in the life of Matthew Powers?
Yeah, I want to say, like, I almost look at it monthly for some reason, in a weird way. A few days prior to the end of a month, we have to produce some files that basically summarize a projection of sales so that our finance team can start preparing cash accruals to pay wholesaler compensation. And then once we get to business day 1, it starts a whole new reporting cycle where you've got to close the prior month. We owe bonus updates. So my staff of 9 immediately, once the data loads in the morning that closes the month, start producing reports. Where do all our salespeople stand? What are our product sales? What are our daily sales from a corporate standpoint? And then we look at, okay, what else do we have in flight? one of our key functions of our team as well is we work with our technology group on basically a product backlog for technology improvements. Are we launching new products in Q1 where we need to bring on new files and sources? Are we working towards that? Is all those budgetary requirements built? So on any given day, I'll have a stand-up meeting with the technology team to talk about what they're working on this week. For some of the folks on the phone, if you haven't learned about anything project management wise, we use Agile. It's kind of the become more en vogue than a typical waterfall project. So we work in 12-week delivery increments, 2-week sprints. So we plan 12 weeks ahead, and then we work in 2-week rolling cycles where our technology team is constantly delivering things for my team to vet and approve. So as we're producing reporting, we're also getting technology output that we need to basically QC and confirm that's going to meet the needs of the business and that this is what we want. I get emails. I got 59 wholesalers across the country that are looking for trades and sales and, want to make sure that they're being credited appropriately for what they need. So, that also falls onto our team. So it's a series of meetings and communications, and, as it comes to me, it flows out to my team because I couldn't do it alone. So, the people that work for me, they know exactly what they have to do every day and how to get it done and are capable of answering those questions. So they're, running reports, building dashboards, QCing technology items, corresponding with wholesalers themselves. And that's kind of the work that we manage and how we get it done.
Killer. All right, so looks like we started with 18 attendees. We've got 15 still on. So if my math is correct and you guys are the financial wizards, that's about an 83%. And had I scored 83% on all of my tests at St. Mike's, I would have been a happy man. Trust me. So before we lose anyone else, I wanted to thank each of the panelists, Matt, Rich, Sam. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. Trevor and Carla, thank you guys for helping facilitate the webinar. Everyone on the line, please remember to check out SMC Connect. You'll find these panelists and many other SMC alumni on there ready to help you guys as you venture out into the real world. And again, thank you for spending the last hour with us. We appreciate it, and best of luck as you make your journey.